Hello and welcome to this tutorial, and in this tutorial we'll be learning about the different states of your Android activity. Now in the previous tutorial we have gone through the basic overview of activity, in which we studied how you could just change the user interface of your activity, and we have also studied the two ways in which you could change the user interface. So the first way was the design view, or the design way, in which you could simply drag and drop the elements onto your activity and then just use the properties in order to change the content of it. And the next way was by using the XML code, by using the XML tags, which allows you to insert any element on your activity screen, and you could also change the background color as we have done right over here. Now in this tutorial what we are going to do is that you are going to leave the user interface apart, and we are going to go in much more depth about the activities logic. Now in this tutorial what we are going to do is that we are going to study the different states of your main activity. So for example, if in the previous tutorial we have ignored this code, and that is because it is a bit difficult to understand this code for a beginner, and in this tutorial what we are going to do is that we are going to go through this code and we are going to understand what some of the code means. So for this tutorial we are going to study the states of an activity. So for example, as I've explained in the previous tutorial, this code is the brain of your Android application. So it handles everything, it handles each and every activity, and it is also used in order to manipulate the data. So what happens is that this activity right here which we have created, which is named as the main activity, it is basically a subclass of a main activity class which contains all the methods which are used in order to run an Android application. Now if you have some basic understanding of Java, then it would be easier for you to understand these things. So as I've earlier explained, that the main activity or any activity which we are going to create in our Android application is going to be the subclass of the main activity. Now in this case it is typed as public class main activity extends app compact activity. So this thing right here, which is the main activity, is inheriting some properties from the app compact activity, and the thing is that this app compact activity is also a subclass of the most important activity which contains all the methods. So basically we could say that the main activity is indirectly accessing all the properties from the most important or the superclass activity. Now what happens is that when you run your activity goes through a certain number of states. So for example, when we are loading up your application onto your emulator, what happens is that this main activity enters into the first state, which is called as the onCreate. And onCreate is nothing but a state in which your activity starts creating itself. For example, the onCreate state is basically used in order to set up everything for your activity. So this onCreate is basically like loading, it is used for loading up the content on your application. So it sets the layout, it adds the text boxes and all the widgets which we have used in our application. So this is one of the states of our application, and an Android application or the Android activity has a lot of states. For example, it has on create, on destroy, on pause, on resume, and all those kinds of states. And if you want to develop Android applications, so it is the basic requirement that we understand all these stages. Now in this tutorial what we are going to do is that we are going to study all the states one by one by printing the log information on our Android application, so that we could understand how the Android activity enters from one state to another. So what we are trying to achieve is that we are trying to print out the current state of our activity onto the output screen or onto the emulator. So in order to do that, we'll need to import some classes. So the first thing which we will need to import is the log. So in order to import it, we type import, then we type android dot util dot log. And if you're familiar with the basic concepts of Java, you might have understood what I've done here. I've basically imported the log package which is present in the android.util, and this basically allows us in order to print out the log info. So once we are done with this, the next thing which we need to do is we need to go into this public class main activity, and inside it we are going to create a string. So in order to create a string, we type private static final string, and let's say we name the string as tag, and we type this equals, let's name the string as my message. So we type my message. Now once we are done with this, the next thing which we do is, as we need to print out the log information in the onCreate method or the onCreate state, so we go inside this onCreate and inside it we type the basic log information. So in order to display out the log information, we type log.I, and it is going to contain two parameters. The first parameter is going to be the string. So in this case we have the string, which is nothing but the tag, and the next thing which we want to print out is the state. So for example, in this case we want to print out on create, so we just copy this and we paste it so that we could understand that the activity has entered the on create state. Now just give a semicolon. So basically what we are trying to achieve is that we want to print out the log information in each and every activity state so that we could understand in which state is the current activity is present. So in the next tutorial we are going to add some other activities such as on resume, on pause and on stop. So thank you very much for watching this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Thank you.